So Greenland has a major military facility that's there to help protect NATO and Europe in case of a foreign attack from, well, Russia, basically. And Canada, well, Canada has the rights to this bunch of oil and natural gas reserves, as well as the maritime routes for them. And Putin wants those demolished. Now, Panama currently has sanctions against Russian vessels traveling through the Panama Canal. So when Donnie is talking about all three of these places, it's on behalf of Vlad. Just like everything that he's done since he was bailed out by Russia in the 80s after he lost all of his daddy's money in bankrupt hotels and casinos in Atlantic City. See, those of us that have been paying attention and that read about history know this shit. And we've seen this coming for a long time. Now, MAGA is the brainchild of Vlad. And Donnie is his puppet. And all of you suckers that voted for him have done nothing more than give him more power to Russia and turn this country over to them. The United States is now weaker and more vulnerable because of you. You know, sometimes I wish I was as stupid as all you MAGAs so I could live my life in total ignorant bliss thinking that Daddy Donnie's just going to make everything better for me. Y'all are a bunch of soft, whiny little bitches. Fuck the fascists. Do not comply.
Here's the accurate story that I've been telling for forever. Saudi Arabia and Russia hatched a plan to con Donald Trump into signing a huge production cut deal. And they actually did this before COVID. They were going to do this regardless of if COVID happened or not. Understand that Vladimir Putin and MBS are tight. They're very close friends. They're very close allies. Why in the world would they get in the middle of an oil price war? If not but for to get Donald Trump to the table. So COVID happened. They started the oil price war. Oil went negative. That's the zero line. So that's how far below zero it was. And they got what they wanted. They got Donald Trump to come to the table. You see, they needed his blessing because he had been threatening Saudi Arabia his entire presidency if they didn't continue increasing oil production. But they knew if they showed him a little favor, they knew if they talked to him the right way, they could pretty much convince him to do anything because it's Donald Trump. So he agreed to the OPEC 2020 deal. A 2-year production cut of 10%. So this was a 9.7 million barrel a day production cut, which at the time was almost as much as the entire U.S. production because U.S. production had fallen to 11.5 or so million barrels a day. So just imagine almost wiping out all of the United States oil production on the global market, what that would do. That deal was signed in April of 2020 and it ended May 1st of 2022. The problem with the deal was that it was a 2-year cut. That was a terrible, terrible deal. This is what happened to gas prices from the beginning of the deal to the end of the deal. This is what happened to inflation in the United States, beginning of the deal, end of the deal. This is what happened to global inflation, beginning of the deal, end of the deal. And this is what happened by the end of the deal. Saudi Aramco became the most valuable company to ever exist. And somewhere in there was a deal for Jared Kushner to get $2 billion. That is the accurate and correct depiction of the events. Because half the podcasts in the country right now are getting it wrong. So don't just share this. Share it with the right people. Those people running those podcasts, people in the media. That way they can deliver the correct information. Thanks.
Just like white supremacy, there isn't anything innovative or new about Project 2025. It's not only similar, but actually mirrors the past, and I'm here to break down how so you can either fight against it or prepare for it. The way they talk about reconstructing the federal workforce reminds me a lot of the spoil system. Just like Andrew Jackson, Ronald Reagan, Schedule F, Project 2025 wants to replace federal workers with the homies. It wants to replace the federal workforce with people who align themselves with the political party's agenda. The spoil system lasted from 1829 to 1883, filled with corruption, and Project 2025 wishes to mirror this. When they bring up fiscal and economic policy changes, it sounds like Reaganomics. I'm talking like bar for bar Reaganomics and that Jobs Act of 2017 that Trump passed. When they talk about tax cuts, they're talking about tax cuts for a corporation, the wealthy. People in our tax bracket are not going to see this. They want to cut social programs to reduce spending, and all that's going to do is have an effect on people who grew up in neighborhoods like mine. Sticking with Reagan, let's talk about the social and cultural impact, because Reaganomics led to things such as the war on drugs. And we know how this disproportionately affected black people. Just like Ronald Reagan, Project 2025 wants to abolish the Department of Education, and Reagan wanted to put it in the state's hands, local government hands versus federal. Why does that sound like this article from 1867? It's called Educate the Negro. As a matter of policy, if not of principle, this should be done by our own people, for if it is not done by them, it will be done by strangers coming from the North, who will infuse them into wrong notions and prejudice in regards to the feelings of the Southern people towards them. Some of the books used by such teachers are embellished with silly stories about the cruelties and persecutions of white people towards the colored. Nothing that they came up with has been new, from welfare reform to how they want to roll back rights that will affect the LGBTQ plus community. When you sit here and you think about it, you be like, well, this is why they want to hide history. The way that they're trying to consolidate power is the same thing that Richard Nixon did. We should know by now what presidents with their privilege and values can do. I'm not here to push anybody to vote in any kind of direction. What I'm telling you is all this stuff has happened before. I'm giving you the blueprint. Learn from it and prepare yourself.
Father David here. Well, how do we know if Trump is of God or of the devil? Well, there's actually a very simple way to discover that, especially if you're a Bible-believing Christian, because we all know about the 3 temptations that Satan put before Jesus in the desert before he began his public ministry. And what were those 3 temptations? They were money, power, and fame. Those are the very temptations that Donald Trump not only succumbs to, but celebrates. They are the temptations that he is urging all of us to follow. Money, power, and fame. These things are from the devil. Jesus calls us to love one another for who we are and as we are, and to serve one another, no matter what, with self-giving love. That is the heart of Christianity. The heart of Satan is self-aggrandizement, as demonstrated by the pursuit of money, power, and fame. So if you want to support Trump, you go right ahead, but please realize whose train you're riding on, because Scripture makes it quite clear. We're better than this. We can do better than this. God bless you all.